guys, here we have the complete carpet installed into the car. Sorry I couldn't record all of it, as I had my buddies here, Winston and Dave, to help me install it, as there are a couple of things which you need to know when putting this in. And then I'm going to give you my final score on this. It's going to be a short, quick video. The installation process is pretty much the same as what I showed in part 1 of this series, so there's nothing really new to tell there. Now, when you're finishing up your installation of this, what you're going to want to look out for is the fact that this is not going to sit exactly like the original carpet. Now, mind you, I did buy the upgraded carpet from the Fiero store, which is this much heavier, much richer carpet than their bargain priced one. The bargain priced one is probably much more, it's probably much closer to the original GM carpet than this is in terms of texture. I haven't seen it myself, but I'm gonna guess yes, because this carpet here is more along the lines of something you'd find in a much more expensive car. So, that being said, it is very thick. It conforms to the trunk pretty well. Not 100%, which is to be expected of some of the aftermarket carpeting, but it does fit well enough that it goes into every corner of the trunk as it should. It is a little bit loose in some areas, but nothing that's detrimental to it. It fits beautifully into the floor and into the well of the trunk. Managed to get everything installed, including all of the tie downs for the T-tops. Installing the light with this trunk is a little more difficult than it is with the regular carpeting, as since this is so much thicker, the light, you have to put a little more force into installing the light than you normally would with the other carpeting, as now there's much more material in the way to prevent the locking tab on the light fixture itself from clipping into the metal of the trunk frame. But as you can see, it can be done, and it looks pretty good. This is a brand new NOS Fiero trunk light, which I pulled out of my stash just to finish this off. Everything mounts right where it should. We have our lights, we have our trunk retainers, all 5 of them, including the one that I forgot. The area of the trunk that sits around the striker, now that's going to need a bit of modification as you're putting it in. You're gonna have to measure it out very carefully and leave yourself room to play, because as you're installing the carpet and you're shifting everything around, you're going to find that you're going to have to make quite a few small cuts and modifications in order to get the carpet to sit right where you want. Again, that's to be expected of an aftermarket carpet, but as you can see, it fits very well, and it should conform more to the trunk lid as the car is used, and the heat from the engine is going to warm the carpet up and allow it to sink more into all of the recesses where it belongs. But overall, I'm going to say that this is definitely a fantastic upgrade from the standard carpet. And I'm going to go as far as to say that it feels better than the interior carpet. Now, you're going to also have to look out for your trunk seal, as trimming the carpet on the striker on the rear bulkhead of the trunk, trimming the top of the carpet here is going to be very important. You have to measure that carefully, because at certain points it's going to interfere with the way the trunk seal sits. And the trunk seal on these 88s sits loosely to begin with. I'm going to recommend that if you guys do this, get a little bit of adhesive, as once I pull the trunk seal off, now it's very loose in this area here. So I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on it just to help hold it down. But overall, guys, look at that. That just looks fantastic. Okay guys, now we have a little bit of light, so I'm going to let you guys get a really good look at this carpet. Now also installing the bolts that go through the trunk for the T-top tie straps. Like I said, you guys who don't have T-tops don't have to worry about this, but installing those bolts is a little bit of a bear, as you can't really see or feel the holes that the bolts are supposed to go through, so you gotta kind of, well, I'll tell you what we did. What we did was we poked in from the engine side of the trunk, coming through the firewall into the carpet area to poke a hole that allowed us to then thread the bolts through. Same as we did on the bottom bolts, as we worked our way down from underneath the car upward to get these holes into the trunk where we're going to have to line the bolts up. That seemed to work, but I mean, take a look at that, guys. That carpeting is, I mean, that is some nice thick carpeting. I am really happy with this, and I'm gonna say that if you're willing to put in the work, because it's not an easy install and it will require quite a bit of fitting. We must have put this carpet in and taken it out of the trunk at least 3 or 4 times as we're lining things up, trimming things down, aligning the carpeting to the trunk, to all of the holes that have to be drilled into it in order to install everything that's in the trunk. We must have done it at least 3 or 4 times, taking everything in and out. But if you're willing to do that and willing to take the time, then I gotta say that this is definitely a thumbs up. And like the scale models now, I'm gonna give it a number rating from 1 to 10, 10 being best. I'm going to give this carpet about an 8.9. It would have scored higher. I mean, 8.9, that's, you know, that's almost a 9. That's like fantastic in my book. 8.9 means I'm going to buy these all day long. Would have scored higher, but it really does require a bit of trimming to make it fit. And that's a lot of effort to put in to get this thing to sit right. Well, not a lot of effort, but you know, it gets a little bit tedious of putting it in, taking it out, putting it in, taking it out, because it's not cut exactly or molded exactly to the trunk. But once you get past that, I'm sticking with that. 8.9. Good score for this, and I recommend it. Like I said, as long as you're willing to put in the effort to get this thing to sit in the trunk correctly, it's definitely worth it. Now, I haven't tried their economy trunk carpeting. If you guys have, let me know what you thought of that. But for a little bit extra, but for a little bit more money, I would say skip the economy one and go straight to this one, because it looks great. All right, guys, that's going to be it. We're getting ready for Carlisle. I have just installed my new taillight lenses. These are new old stock, never been used before. Original Pontiac lenses. These are not the Keith Goodyears, as you can tell by the dark tint. And I've had them in storage for a while, but they're on there now, and they look fantastic. As I'm getting everything ready to head out to Carlisle at the end of the week. So if you guys are going to Carlisle, I hope to see you there. And I guess that's it, guys. I'm gonna go, and I will see you on the next one.